The recent conference proved to be a tough pill for pro-Trump supporters, as Mark Carney spared no mercy for a foolish reporter's questions. Instead of defending himself, Carney challenged the idea that Canada is unsure of its direction, making it clear that Canada is done leaning on Washington and is focused on strengthening itself.
Conservatives say you are jetting around but getting nothing done. You've met with numerous leaders while you've been here, but you're not signing a new deal or announcing a new partnership. What have you achieved tangibly for Canadians during this trip?
Yeah, look, there's a couple of things, Jeremy. One is that, and I would look at what we've done over the course of the last 10 days in Mexico, in New York, in Ottawa, in London. Major trade deal with the fourth largest population economy in the world, Indonesia, a country that's on track to be the fifth largest economy in the world over the next 2 decades. The first major trade deal for that country with Canada. It's comprehensive, signed.
Carney answered, not with anger, but with a blunt tone that shut the reporter down. Instead of chasing Trump headlines, he made it clear he had zero interest in playing that game. Canada, he said in plain terms, does not run its government based on American personalities. That line alone landed like a hammer. The reporter was exposed as a petty, unserious, and completely out-of-step person with where Canada is headed.
We may be in London, but I've got a question about the United States, sir. It's
That's fine.
unescapable.
Yeah.
Why didn't you communicate to Canadians that you were fully dropping non-sectoral retaliatory tariffs? So not just CUSMA-compliant goods, but non-CUSMA-compliant goods. Also, if you have any thoughts about how Donald Trump's latest threats for tariffs on furniture and pharmaceuticals are likely to affect Canada.
I mean, the first question is a rounding error. The CUSMA compliant, no, come on. The CUSMA compliant is, for example, for Canada, it's more than 97% is CUSMA compliant. It's effectively the same thing. It's just more straightforward. We did it that way. The classes of goods, there are classes of goods where we did keep retaliatory tariffs on related to 232 tariffs, for example, on steel and aspects of autos. We are one of very few countries that still have retaliatory tariffs on with the U.S. because in those areas we are engaged in negotiations. First point.
From there, Carney took control of the room. He laid out what Canada is actually doing, not what goofy reporters like her keep guessing about. Trade deals are being expanded, markets are being diversified. Canada is actively reducing its exposure to U.S. political chaos by building stronger ties with Europe, Latin America, and Asia. While some reporters were still stuck asking, what does Trump think? Carney was talking about real agreements, real investments, and real leverage. And then came the part that clearly rattled the room.
Now, the world is undergoing a number of fundamental shifts that are challenging all of those premises. New technologies have brought distant threats to our doorstep. Power has become multipolar. Authoritarianism is resurgent, and consensus within many democracies has fractured. This is not a slow transition, it's a rupture. And the mission of our new government is to ensure that Canada will not just be able to endure the impact of these shifts, but to prosper through them. I just want to make a few comments before taking questions on our strategies and how Canada is approaching these missions. First, we're building on our strengths. We recognize that we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of each other. We can't control what other nations do, but we can control our own economic destiny. So we're charting that course to build Canada strong.
Carney made it clear that Canada will not hesitate to push back if the U.S. escalates tariffs or trade pressure. Just a simple warning. If Canada is hit, Canada will respond proportionally and decisively. And that's why they've been strengthening themselves.
We passed landmark legislation to fast-track major projects in energy, artificial intelligence, critical minerals, and trade infrastructure to new markets. We've launched Build Canada Homes to help double the pace of home building, building at a pace not seen in Canada since the end of the Second World War. Now, while in the UK, I've met with business and investment leaders to discuss new economic opportunities and partnerships as we look to attract capital to Canada and to empower Canadian workers with new, high-quality careers. My message to business leaders here in New York, throughout the world, is we have what the world wants. Canada is an energy superpower in clean and conventional energy. We're amongst the top 5 producers of the world's most important critical minerals. We're a leading developer of artificial intelligence, and we have the world's best talent in quantum and computer science. We have the resources that businesses need to thrive and compete in today's more volatile global economy. And the second point I emphasize is that we are a nation that is building with our values.
What made the exchange even more striking was how little time Carney spent talking about Trump at all. That was the point. While the reporter tried to frame Canada as reacting to the US, Carney flipped it completely. Canada isn't reacting anymore. It's planning. And it's planning remarkably well and boldly. That mindset carried through the rest of the conference.
This week, we launched the second phase of those negotiations. Last week in Mexico, I worked with President Sheinbaum to launch a new Canada-Mexico action plan to build fresh economic opportunities for our workers and businesses. Earlier this week, the President of Indonesia and I announced Canada's first ever bilateral trade deal with an ASEAN country, reducing or eliminating tariffs on 95% of current Canadian exports to Indonesia. Et cet automne, nous allons lancer la nouvelle stratégie de diversification commerciale du Canada pour renforcer nos relations actuelles et ouvrir de nouveaux marchés aux entreprises canadiennes, en particulier en Asie. Yesterday, I met with the Prime Ministers of the United Kingdom, of Australia, of Spain, and Iceland.
A solid foundation against a tough crusade. This is exactly what Carney has in store for the upcoming challenges. While one side came looking for Trump sound bites, Carney gave them a roadmap instead. And that's what made the moment sting. Then he brought it home.
How has U.S. President Donald Trump's apparent backing of a Ukraine victory changed the calculus of the coalition of the willing, if at all? And specifically, what I'd like to know is whether this will make the coalition bolder, such as deploying trainers without a ceasefire. Is that in the cards?
We very much welcome President Trump's position, as we have welcomed his engagement from the start in this conflict. He's played, as usual, a decisive role in shaping potential outcomes to the concept. We have been clear from the start, as a member of the Coalition of the Willing, well, Canada will do our bit, that ultimately some form of U.S. backstop to any security guarantee of Ukraine that is provided by the Coalition of the Willing will be necessary.
By the time the press conference wrapped up, the contrast couldn't have been sharper. For anyone still expecting Canada's Prime Minister to jump every time Trump's name is mentioned, this press conference delivered a cold dose of reality. The era of reactive politics is over. Carney made that clear. And he didn't need more than a few calm sentences to reveal the future of the Canadian economy. Canada isn't stuck orbiting US politics anymore. It's moving, deliberately and confidently, in its own direction.